Hi, I'm Dan Costa, the Chief Content Officer at Worth Media Group, and I am here at the Milken Global Conference in LA. My guest at the moment is Doug Drysdale. He is the Chief Executive Officer at Cybin. Cybin is a fascinating pharmaceutical company with some really innovative treatments in the works. Doug, thanks so much for joining me.
Hey Dan, thanks for having me today. Appreciate it.
So let's get this out of the way from the get-go. What makes Cybin different from a lot of other pharmaceutical companies?
What we're working on is a real paradigm shift in treating mental health. So we're focused on depression, anxiety disorders, and for the last 40 or 50 years, we've been treating the symptoms of depression. There aren't any drugs out there to cure depression. We just make patients feel a little better. And now for the first time, we think we have something that can actually change the course of disease, where we give just 2 treatments, 3 weeks apart, and I can go into what the drugs are, but 2 treatments, 3 weeks apart, and then most patients are seeing benefits a year later after just 2 treatments. So we're changing the biology, we're changing the course of disease, and that's the real step forward that we're making at Cybin.
Semi-controversial piece of it is that these treatments are based on psychedelics.
Yeah, that's right. That's the controversial part, I guess.
I like the way you buried that lead, though, because you treat it like a drug. This is what its potential is. The psychedelic part of it is sort of ancillary in some degree.
You know, something I've been saying a lot about sort of this paradigm shift in care also requires a paradigm shift in thinking. So let's not be closed-minded about how we treat these treatments, these conditions, because let's face it, most things haven't really worked in the past. So let's be open to trying something new. So leading with the science, leading with the results, gets people's interest. And then we can explain that these are based on psychedelic compounds. So we've been synthetically, chemically modifying classical psychedelic compounds like psilocybin and DMT. So the active agents in magic mushrooms and ayahuasca, that gets lots of attention. But by modifying them, we're able to optimize their path into the brain, their dosing, the dose protocol, and we're seeing tremendous results. Our psilocybin analog, which is called CYB3, that we're studying for depression, is now in phase 3. So it's the final stage of development. Our phase 2 results were just spectacular. As I mentioned, we gave 2 doses to depressed patients. And after just the second dose, 75% of patients were in remission from their depression. So their depression scores were normal, no longer met the criteria for depression, which is remarkable.
Talk about a paradigm shift. Compare that to traditional treatments for depression, where you go on the medication, it takes you some time to ramp up, stabilize your dosage, but then you have to stay on the medication. There's no coming off.
That's exactly right. So traditional treatments, SSRIs, patients take them every day. They're really targeting just the symptoms. About a third of patients find remission. So there are patients that these help, no doubt about it. But for most others, they're still living with their depression in some level or other. And you're right, these drugs were tested for a few weeks or so, but they're being taken for years at a time. And they come with some unpleasant side effects: weight gain, sexual dysfunction, insomnia, some cognitive issues. And in general, patients just kind of want to get off them. They become somewhat emotionally dependent upon them. So what we're working on is really a completely different approach. It's more of a pharmaceutical intervention to come in and break the cycle and get people's thinking patterns on a different path, which is why we think these effects are lasting so long, up to a year, in many patients.
The fact that they're based on psychedelics obviously creates policy issues. It creates cultural issues. Like, where are you in sort of the stage of trying to change the narrative and let people understand that these are drugs, but all drugs are drugs, and therefore we should analyze them and treat them based on their potential benefits and their potential harms? Where are you in the policy structure there?
Yeah, there's no doubt that we have an uphill task here. I mean, since the early 70s, the formation of the DEA, the war on drugs, our population has been told that psychedelics are bad, that they're scary, that maybe even they're dangerous. But let's remember, first of all, almost all small molecule drugs come from nature at some point. GLP-1s, that everyone's talking about, came from the Gila monster.
Yeah.
Exenatide.
I'm not shocked that that story hasn't gotten more play.
No, it's a great story. But many drugs come from nature. And we've also seen some more controversial compounds being approved. So Pyschadellics, which is a cannabinoid, is approved for epilepsy. GHB is an approved drug. Topical cocaine is an approved drug. So there are precedents where after showing safety and efficacy, FDA will approve, And then DEA then is forced to reschedule, because currently these compounds are Schedule 1 compounds. That means part of that definition is not medically useful. Of course, once we finished our clinical trials, we'll prove that that's not the case, and then they'll be rescheduled.
How do you see the current FDA over the next 3.5 years treating this research and these types of compounds? I have no idea how they see that or how they might look to regulate it.
Well, look, first of all, I'd say that our relationship with FDA has been outstanding. They've been incredibly supportive. We were fortunate that they gave us breakthrough therapy designation for our lead compound. So that gives us not only all the fast-track tools at FDA, so faster approval and faster review, but also consultative relationship with them. So it's been very engaging. They've helped us design our phase 3 program. We met with them just a few weeks ago, and no changes. We haven't seen any change in the staff. And in fact, I think they had more than 20 people show up at the meeting, so they're very engaged. They're learning about these compounds as we are. So we're the experts, we're doing the work. They're learning from all the studies that are going on, and we're collectively all benefiting from that. So I think I'm happy with where FDA is. I'm not concerned about FDA leadership either. If we think above that, at the HHS level, RFK Jr. has publicly said that he's supportive of making psychedelics available in a regulatory framework. His son had a personal positive experience during a bout of depression. So it's good to have the administration on board.
That's great. What are we thinking in terms of time? You have 2 products in development. What are the time frames? When are our consumers going to be able to sort of get access to these, do you think?
Yeah, look, it's a little hard to be too specific with time frames. A lot depends upon the FDA, and a lot depends upon recruiting patients in the phase 3 program. We're recruiting 550 patients, so it's quite a big task. We have to run 2 phase 3 studies. The first one is up and running. 45 sites across the US, so it's quite a big lift for the team to get all those sites activated, trained, hundreds of facilitators and investigators trained, all these DEA licenses we have to get for all these sites. It's a big lift. And then the second study we expect to start around mid-year. So I think we'll see readouts from these studies in 2026, 2027. I suspect we'll be in a position to submit an application to the FDA in 2027.
That's great. Well, we look forward to it. We look forward to continuing to cover the story. Doug, thanks so much for taking some time and talking to me today.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Dan. Thanks very much.
We'll have more videos on youtube.com. I will see you there.